high voltage and low pressure, these gases are ionized at the anode. When they are being ionized, they are converting into positive charged particles. And when they are positive charged particles, they are attracted towards the cathode. Because high potential is there, they will be moving with very high speed. And this fast moving ions of this argon or neon or helium, they strike the surface of the cathode. Surface of the cathode. That is, for example, in case of it is iron. So it is the anode. It is the surface of the iron. When this argon will be striking the surface of the iron cathode, it will physically displace. This will physically displace the metal atom from the what? From the cathode surface. So cathode surface, it will be eliminating some of the atoms into the atmosphere of what? Of and Mallet. And some of them, they will be excited. And when they are emit radiation, they will emit radiation characteristic. And characteristic is that is iron will have different wavelength as compared to copper. Copper will have a different wavelength as compared to nickel. Nickel will have a different as compared to silver, and so on and so forth. Now the displaced atoms are excited and emit the characteristic spectrum of the metal used as a cathode and act as a radiation source for the AAS. Now, the design or the shape of the cathode is made special arrangement. It is a cylindrical, it is cylinder, hollow cylinder, and this is to concentrate the what? Concentrate the radiation in the limited region of the tube. Why we are going to just see the next one in the next slide, which is the shape of that. The argon neon gas field in the cathode lamp, it performs three functions. When the argon and neons are being in the cathode, these inert gases, they perform three functions, and those are: number one, these ions, they dislodge this and they expel some of the atoms from the surface of the cathode, and this is known as sputtering. Sputtering of what? Sputtering of the atoms in the surface of the cathode. Then these these inert gases, they are responsible for the excitation of the ground state metal atoms. Now, those atoms which are in the ground state, that is at the original one, excited because these ions, they have large momentum, they have high energy. They shift the energy to the atom. When they shift the energy to the atom, they are being absorbing, and by absorbing those energy, they are being excited to the next energy level. And when they are being de-excited, they are giving us characteristic radiation, and that is the speciality. That is the speciality of this technique. That is the characteristic. That is because the exact wavelength will be there, it will be absorbing, and it will be. Now again, it is the main source of current. Now these argon particles, the neon particle, or inert gas particle, they are working as a main source of the current. And the pressure of these gases, they are very, very small. That is 1 to 5 torr. Torr means it is a millimeter of mercury. 1 to 5 millimeter of mercury. Mind it, this low pressure is essential. When there is, air is what? air is insulated. It is not conducting electricity. It is not allowing the particle to move from here to there. But when they are in low pressure, these gaseous particles, they are being ionized and they can move, they conduct electricity. So it's for that, in order to conduct, we must have low pressure within the bulb, within the lamp. Now, here, this is this schematics of the schematic diagram of hollow cathode lamp, which is showing the mechanism atomic emission is obtained. In which, by means of which, it is showing that how the atomic is taking place. Now, this is the envelope, glass envelope. Yes, glass bulb. And here, this is the quartz window. This is transparent. When we say transparent, this is transparent with respect to what? With respect to spectroscopy. Transparent means this is UV visible, transparent to UV visible region. Yes. When it is UV visible region, it means that UV visible region will not be interacting with this material of this element, of this window. So we say that this is transparent. When, for example, IR radiation are passing, when we say that the IR optically active, it means that the IR radiation will be not interacting with the material of this window. So it is optically transparent window. It is quartz. For example, quartz is transparent to the whole UV visible region. Yes. Now coming to, we have already discussed in the previous slide that in this bulb, this glass envelope, it contains one anode and the another cathode. We have got tungsten, high tungsten, and this is the positive one, and this is cathode negative one. Now, what is happening? High potential between these positive and negative charges, the electrodes are there. Now, neon gas, they are being here within this, and now neon, when it is high due to high potential, neon is being ionized. For example, it is a neon gas. They will be passing with high speed to this metal, this cathode, which is made of a semicircle. It is made of a cup shape. And when this neon ion, it is striking with high speed on the surface of this cathode, what will be happening? It will transfer its energy. It will transfer its energy to these atoms. And they are so excited, they are coming out of. And again, when they are coming out, some of their again particles, they are being interacting and they are converting into from from the ground state to excited M star. M star means excited atom. Okay. Now, when this excited atom, it will irradiate, it will give its energy in order to get stability. It will be converting into again positive atom, and it is giving radiation. This radiation is the characteristic, and because, for example, it is of sodium. Sodium has fixed electronic configuration. The energy gap between the outer shell of the sodium, they are constant, always constant, everywhere constant. For example, and it is entirely the entire, for example, calcium. Calcium has energy gap, a different energy gap as compared to sodium. Calcium has a different energy gap as compared to copper, because all these elements, they have different electronic configuration, they have different atomic number. Depending upon the atomic number, they are different electronic number of atoms. Their energy quantum is different. So If it is of low energy quantum, it will be low energy radiation. It is of high energy quantum, it will be emitting high energy quantum. This is the characteristic. Now, for the same reason, the cathode is the element of the cathode is made up of the element of interest. If we are going to analyze sodium, it will be made up of sodium. If it is we want to analyze calcium, it will be made of calcium. If it is of copper, it will be of copper. It is made of copper. It could be made of gold. It could be, if it is aluminum, it will be made up of aluminum. Yes. The mechanism is that the inert gas which is present in this environment due to high potential between the positive anode and the negative cathode, it is being ionized here. And when these are ionized, these ionized particles, they are rushing with high speed towards the opposite charge cathode. And where they transfer energy due to momentum, they pass their energy to the neutral atom. So they are so excited that some of the atoms, they are being eliminated from the surface, and this is called as sputtering. Ejection of the metal atom from the surface of the cathode. And some of this high energy being able to transfer the energy to neutral atoms, and they are being excited. And excited atom, it is coming back to its ground state. It will be emitting energy again, and it will be emitting the same absorption and emission is the same phenomena. We will be discussing here within a couple of that how these and the radiations are being absorbed by the atoms and the molecules. Okay, that will be in the UV visible and IR spectroscopy. Okay, so this is a special type of. So for each element, if we want to analyze sodium, we will have a different source than as compared to calcium. Calcium will have a different source. For copper, the same. So whatever the element of interest, we will be selecting that cathode line. Which means, for example, if we want to analyze in a water sample 5 elements, for example, A, B, C, D. So we must have 5 sources of radiation, 5 lamps we have for A, B, C, and D. आवाज आ रही आनी चाहिए. Coming to the next slide. And that is the atomized sample introduction and atomization. Now, in the sample introduction system, this is introduction system. Here the capillary tube, and we have shown in the previous some previous slide. This is the beaker. This is the nebulizer. Here it is the gases are there. This is the rotating chopper. It will shift. It will avoid. It will allow only find uniform size of the particle pass through this burner head. Those which are of larger size, they will be creating problems. So they will be again here. They will be remaining in there in the amber, and they will be into the waste. They are not reaching into the burner head. Okay. Now the sample solution you spray to the burner, the flow spoiler or the rotating chopper remove the larger droplets, the droplets which are of larger size, and the uniform size particle or droplets, they are entering into the flame, where burning process takes place. Okay. Now, here, and then there will be the atomization. Now, there will be chemical reaction which will be taking place in this flame. And, for example, solution of what? The solution of, suppose it is copper nitrate, for example. Copper will be in the ionic form. Copper nitrate, copper sulfate, copper chloride, copper acetate. So whatsoever, it is soluble compound solution. Okay. These compounds, they are broken into free atoms, and it is reaching into this flame. There will be certain reactions taking place, and so a copper positive 2, it will be converting into copper 0. Copper 0 atom. It means that it will be exactly the same copper which is present in a solid form, in a wire, in a powder. So it will be a pure copper atom. So it is having the same electronic configuration, which is a pure neutral atom of copper. Yes. So when we are saying that this is the burner, it is gases are burning here. This is the flame. There are two types of the atomizers. Mainly, there are two types of the atomizer. Number one, the flame atomizer, and number two, the electrothermal atomizer. The first one, that is the flame atomizer. This is the most common. The most common introduction in which the sample is introduced into the flame atomizer by continuous aspiration. We pass the solution continuously, in which the sample is continuously passing through the burner by emanating, and continuous burning is there, and we are measuring the absorbance within the. Now, because we are continuously passing the solution, we must have at least 2 to 5 milliliter of sample for each reading. For each reading, we have to use 2 to 5 ml. 2 to 5 ml, it is a huge amount with respect to analytical chemistry. Okay. Whatever we are passing this solution in the form of a mist, form of fine powder, fine particles, fine droplets. So within the flame, they are being in which the analyte is present, solute is present. So that in the flame, the samples are being evaporated. Solvent is evaporated, solids are formed, solids are decomposed with the different particles, and they are converting. Copper plus 2 is converting into what? Into copper 0 form. Again, there are certain special in certain special situations. Flame microsampling is there. This is a special device in which we use microliter quantity, for example, 100 microliter, or for example, 50 microliter quantity. And again, that 50 microliter quantity is being injected, and we are getting a discrete a symbol, a peak is that discrete sample fixed volume is being used. And this is useful for the sample which is of limited quantity. We can use this such type of the micro sampling technique when we have a limited volume, we have a limited sample size. For example, a human blood sample. So when human blood sample, it is a precious one. So we inject microliter quantity and we get a signal. But one thing and another thing is when a very saturated, we are going to measure a saturated solution. For example, sodium chloride. So sodium chloride will be interfering. It will be a matrix effect will be there, which can interfere with the atomization process. So in order to avoid, we are getting fixed microliter quantity. They will be destroyed in the flame within the microseconds, and we are getting pure signal of our analyte, which is being dissolved in, for example, high concentrated matrix. Okay. For the flame, generally flame is generally produced by mixing the gases. For example, we burn our gas, natural gas, that is sui gas in our domestic use. We mix the sui gas in the air, a flame is being formed, which is a maximum temperature of about 1800 Celsius. Okay. Similarly, this is great. This is not K. There is mistake. I'm sorry. I have to check it, but this is a mistake. This is centigrade. Similarly, if we don't have a natural gas, we can use propane and air. Similarly, we can use hydrogen and air. We can use acetylene and air. We can use acetylene and nitrous oxide. Now, if we carefully see, the natural gases have a temperature of 1800. Propane air has a 1900. Hydrogen air has a 2000 centigrade. Acetylene air is 2300, about 2450. And then acetylene, nitric oxide, it is ranging from 1800 above. That is 25, 50. These are the average temperatures of these flames. These can be variable. We can change them by combination of different oxidant and the fuel pressure. If it is oxidant is greater, the complete burning is there, it will be a higher temperature. If it is because the fuel will be not burning. Okay. So we can manage.
You are currently the only person in this conference.
Here we have what we are doing, because the temperature is different, they have different energy. So different energy, in different energy, different elements could be what? Could be atomized. They will be excited at different level, at different temperature. And this will be more clear to you people in the next slide. And in the flame atomization, there are various processes which are occurring. We are passing the solution into the flame. We are passing the solution into the flame, and where we are making an aerosol from the solution. That is, we are nebulizing. We are passing the aerosol vapors, solution in the vapor form. It is reaching into the flame. Where
You are currently the only person in this conference.
Hello. Okay. Now the removal of the water solvent is there, and what will be happening that this aqueous solution, it is converted, it is being dried. Solvent is evaporated, and we are getting what? Na solid. So solid material is being formed. Now, this solid again within the flame taking place. Now this solid is converting into vapor form, Ma, gaseous form. The next stage is this solid form, they will be oxidized, they will be reduced within the flame, and this is converting into M and A. So two types of the material will be, this is the matter, this is the anion, for example. So will be generated. And again, within the flame, we have high temperature because it's there. It will be excited to next energy level, and it will be excited state. And this will be occurring by absorption of energy. And that energy is what? That is radiation energy. That is the radiation which is being, it is this atom, it will absorb the same energy which is coming from the source. And this can only happen if the radiation quantum of energy that is exactly the same. Because we are using, for example, the lamp of copper, it means that the copper is being absorbing because it has the same is the same, and it means that when the radiation from source is coming from to this, it will be absorbing, and we are excited state. When this excited state is de-excited, it is the emission process technique. It will emit the same energy radiation, and it is coming to the atom. We say that this is the de-excitation process. But here we are only related with spectrometry. We are measuring the absorption, not the emission. So we will be restricting with here up to the level. If, for example, this energy is too high, if this energy excitation going, this electron will be going out of this atom. We see that the ionization process taking place. And when the ionization
You are currently the only person in this conference.
it has its electronic configuration is different as compared to this neutral one. So it means that it will be of no use. So if it is less than the energy is there, we are unable to, in order to get what neutral atom. If the energy is quite high, it will be more ionizing, and we are getting what? The positive ions. So we have to optimize the temperature, and we can optimize the temperature by using appropriate pressure or the quantity of fuel as well as the gas. Now, There is a question that how we can produce aerosol. Aerosol is the production. This is your solution. And here, this is the atomizer. Ahmad Rashid, please listen carefully. This is your question. And this is the answer. And this is liquid. This is liquid. And we are spraying this liquid. It is just like what? When this is a liquid and there is a small capillary tube, just like that, that the liquid which is in your perfume. What you are doing, we are applying some pressure on the perfume button. You will push it, and this spray, whatever the liquid, it is passing through this small orifice in the form of small vapor, and that is aerosol. So we are only pushing the solution, passing through it a small orifice, small hole. It will be converting into particles. So that is known as aerosol. Okay. Now, because we are not in a position to control all the size of they may be two particles, they are combining together. They will be size. There will be in between. There will be smaller size. So a number of size of particles. Almost this is a chopper. It will be allowed only the uniform. It will be passing the large. They will be remaining here. They will be going to waste material. And now only the almost uniform size particles they are reaching to this flame. Is it clear now? Is it clear now? Now, when these fine particles are reaching into this flame, there are so many processes we have already discussed in words. Now we are going to explain it in this flame. Okay. Now, the final particle they are passing through. The larger particles, they will be remaining here and they will be going to waste. Okay. Now, when these particles, which are containing what? Which are containing our analyte. Now, this analyte in the form of fine mist, in the form of aerosol, they are reaching the flame. And, the temperature of this flame is not uniform. It has a different temperature. It has a very low temperature at the bottom. The bottom, it's very low. The temperature profile increasing as we go above the height in the flame. And this is maximum here at the top. At the top of the flame, it is the maximum temperature is there. Here, because the temperature is low, it means that the low temperature processes which are occurring low pressure, they could be occur. Here, the processes are, or those processes will occur which need high energy. It means that first one, the evaporation is there. From solution to solid, making the solution, sorry, it should be solution to solid. Okay, the vaporization is there. And then the atomization is taking place. Now, this solid particle, Ma, it is converted to M0, that is neutral particle. Now, this M0, in the next stage, that is the excited from ground state to excited state. And that at the top of the level, top of this flame, the excited atom, they give its electrons and it is converting into positive ion. Now, when it is positive ion, it will have a different, entirely different as compared to this neutral atom. Because when the electron is ejected from the neutral atom, it will have a different energy level diagram. So the energy level of the shells they will be changing. And when they are changing, they will get a different wavelength to be absorbed or to be emitted. So these are the within the frame: evaporation, atomization, excitation, and the ionization. And this we have already explained in the slide, and it may be continued in the next slide. No. Now we have already said that there are two types of the atomizers mainly. Number one is the flame. Number two is the electrothermal. In the electrothermal atomizer, there is no flame. Be careful. Again, I am going back. Yeah. Now, here, this is the atomization section. It could be, this is the flame in which we are burning a fuel in the presence of an oxygen component. Fuel and oxidant is there. But if we don't want an atomizer with the flame, we can supply the here electrical energy to the atoms. And here, for that purpose, we will be changing this what? This portion with the electrothermal atomizer. We will be replacing this flame with a furnace, electrical furnace. Okay. Which type of furnace will be? Yes. This is the furnace. This is made up of what? Of the graphite. Okay. This is a cylinder. Cylinder of what? Cylinder of graphite. Approximately 1 to 3 centimeters long. Whereas its diameter is variable 3 to 8 millimeters. And both these ends, they are free, they are open, optical path length. So where the electron, radiation is passing through here, and they are passing through this this graphite tube. Okay. Now this tube, both these ends, they are being applied high potential. This is positive, this is negative, or vice versa. This is positive, this is negative. This is the length, that is about 3 centimeters. Slightly, it could be, you can say it is 1.25 centimeter. Sorry, 1.2 inches. Okay, so both the ends of this tube are open, so that the radiation could pass through this system easily. On one side, there is an opening, small hole on this graphite tube. Now, from where we are injecting the sample. We are injecting the sample with minute quantity, that is microliter quantity. We are passing through it. This blue color, this is the solution of what? Okay. Now, the graphite tube is there. So here the hollow lamp is there. Here the burner is there, or if we are replacing this burner with the help of this. So this is called an electrothermal atomizer because it is electrically heated. Electrically heated means electrothermal. I mean atomization process taking place by means of what? Electricity. And then there is a monochromator, there is a detector, there is an amplifier, and then the recorder. So this will be the block diagram of what that is of the atomic absorption. So, what is the working tube? Working of the electrothermal atomizer. By doing so, we are increasing what is it? It consists of a cylindrical tube, approximately 3 centimeter length, and that of the 3 to 8 millimeter in the diameter. Yes. Graphite tube is housed. It is housed in an assembly, and this is the sealed tubes with optical transparent window both sides. The assembly also allows the passage. So this is a continuous stream. We are also passing through this graphite and the inert gas. We are passing inert gas here during the reaction, during the experimentation. And this inert gas, we are passing through inert gas because this is the graphite tube. Graphite the carbon. And when it is a carbon, when it is heated, it will be decomposed into the air. For example, carbon plus oxygen from air, it will be converting into carbon dioxide. So it will be destroyed. In order to increase the length of it, we are passing inert gas through this. So it means that inert gas will be flowing in this tube continuously so that its life will be increasing. So that this oxygen in the air, they are not allowed to contact to react this carbon at elevated temperature. Okay. Now the protecting the oxygen. So this inert gas, it will be not allowing the oxidation of this graphite. When the oxidation of graphite is, it means that it is converting into carbon dioxide. So it means it will be gaseous form. So it will be no more. A power supply is there which will pass the current through the graphite. So because this, for example, this is positive, this is negative terminal. When the electricity pass through it, there will be a resistance. Resistance of what? Resistance of the electron to flow through this material. And this is the one that is, this will be heated due to its resistance. Proportional to what this will be when it is resistance will be there, it will be what? It will be heated, it will be elevated, it will be at elevated temperature above the room temperature. So this temperature, we can manage this temperature and we create such a temperature that all the processes we observe during the flame, they are acting here. They are observing here, tube, and that is the simplicity here. We can see. This is again there are the same figure. So we inject a quantity that is 5 to 50 microliter. Whether we are supplying the energy sample 5 micro quantity, 10 microliter quantity, 20, 40, 50, not more than that. Now, the sample is injected from the hole, above hole. And there is a small aperture here, small diameter hole, located at the top of this tube, from where we can pass the solution to be analyzed. And then we will increase the temperature of this tube in a controlled fashion. In a controlled fashion means what? The first one, that is, we need lower temperature at, for example, at drying stage. For example, it is a water solution. So water can be dried at what? At 100 degrees temperature. So what we'll be doing? Increasing the temperature up to 100. Precautionary up to 110 degrees Celsius. So this is all the evaporation will be there. That is, liquid is converting it into solid, and then there is a charring process. It is also known as etching process. So we are converting this. If this material, if this solution containing organic, for example, a blood sample is there, we are injecting a 20 microliter of blood sample here. And now blood is composed of so many components. So this organic component will be destroying. It will be charred. It will be and in the second stage. That is what? That is the charring or etching stage. And it will be at elevated temperature as compared to the drying one. Organic matter decompose into carbon dioxide, for example. Nitrogen into nitrogen oxide, carbon into carbon dioxide, and metal into metal oxide. Okay. Now, when the metal is in the form of oxide, next stage is again further we increase the temperature, and this is the atomization. Now that metal salt or metal oxide, it is converted to metal atom. And when metal atoms are present here in this tube, the radiation from the hollow cathode lamp, they are emitting from the anode lamp, they are passing through this continuously. And if an atom which has the same composition with that is present in the hollow cathode lamp, therefore it means that hollow cathode lamp is emitting a characteristic radiation, for example, that of copper. So copper has a characteristic wavelength, for example, 630 nanometer. So here copper atom is there. When this radiation is reaching here with the same composition, same electronic configuration, it will be resonating. It will be absorption. So absorption taking place. And if this is not all, it is not a stationary one. It is moved. And now it means that this is the initial reading of the intensity reading of the radiation, and this is after absorption. So the difference between the initial and the final will be taking place. And the change in the absorption is directly proportional to the number of atoms in this volume. It means that we are passing this into 1 ppm, 2 ppm, 5 ppm standard solution. So standard solution is being placed here, and we are getting the absorption value. And the next stage is that is the cleaning. In the cleaning is there. In further, after the atomization stage, we increase the temperatures so many times. For example, 100 to 300 degrees centigrade of the atomization temperature, so that if there are some residue, it is being eliminated. And again, this could be achieved by passing a inert gas through it with high speed. So the flushing of the inert gas, it will be helping us in cleaning the process. We can't use any detergent here, for example, just like dishwashing. No, we can't use any liquid, chromic acid. No, we can't use any solid material such as Vim, surf. So, what is within the we can clean this. We can get rid of the residual components which are present. Now, these are the just explanation. Worldwide, we can say in the first stage, that is drying. In the drying stage, the sample is dried using a current which raise the temperature of the to 100 degrees centigrade, 110. Okay, so 110 degree is temperature which is sufficient to evaporate the aqueous solution. If, for example, we are using the organic solvent, this temperature could be lower one. Now, after the evaporation, the sample will be in the solid will be converted into solid residue. Next, that charring process, the etching in the charring process or the etching stage, the temperature is increased from 350 to 100 degrees centigrade. Very high temperature as compared to drying temperature. So at all these temperature, the organic matter, if it is present in the sample, it is converted to what? Carbon dioxide, and as well as into the water vapors. And the volatile organic matter is vaporized. Whatever the volatile material is there, it is evaporated. And these gases are removed by, and when this, during the charring process, we are also purging, we are also flowing inert gas. So the inert gas, they will be evaporating within the, with the gas, the inert gas, these vapors which are being formed, which are volatilized in this, they are being eliminated. In the third stage, that the atomization. Now the atomization stage, it is increasing. We increase this temperature rapidly. We were at 1200 degrees centigrade. Now we increase the temperature from 17 to 2800 degrees centigrade within seconds. Within seconds. The result is the transient absorption. It means that this is seconds, and we are getting a signal here. And this is the absorption signal, whose height is, or area under the curve is directly proportional to the concentration of the analyte, which is being injected into this graphite. And all these stages, that is first, that is a drying, etching, and then atomization. It is approximately, it will be taking, and the time is, that is, it will be 45 to 90 seconds for single. So it is quite time consuming. But within 90 to 100 seconds, for example, the drying and etching and atomization taking place. So it is very time consuming. Whereas in the flame version, we are supplying within this year, we can within this time we can take a number of readings with the flame. So the next is, it is not a sequence, but it is a cleaning process. In the cleaning stage, the temperature is increased about 3000 to 3200 degrees Celsius, along with continuous stream of inert gas to remove the residual atoms within the tube. So these are the processes which we can manage within the by using what? By using the flame as well as the electrothermal process. It doesn't mean that only there are two processes which are only present for the atomization stage. There are other processes also. That is, for example, we have discussed the flame atomizer. We have discussed the electrothermal atomizer. There is another one, that is the hydride generation and the cold vapor generation. It means that overall there are the four types. There are four modes of atomization: the flame atomization, electrothermal atomization, hydride generation, and cold vapor generation. A few words about these hydride generation and the cold vapor generation technique. Now, when we say that it is hydride generation, it means that the elements may be atomized by a chemical reaction that produce volatile product. So, volatile product means that the gaseous atom, for example, are low boiling point. Elements of the product which have low boiling point. So, elements such as arsenic, selenium, antimony, bismuth, germanium, tin, tellurium, lead, they form volatile hydride. When they are reacting with what? With, for example, sodium borohydride, the hydrogen gas is being generated and it is being reacting with these elements such as arsenic, selenium, antimony, bismuth, selenium, tin, tellurium, lead. Okay. What is the reaction? For example, arsenic nitrate is there. Arsenic has 3 valency, positive 3. So arsenic nitrate, when it is reacting with sodium borohydride, a double displacement reaction taking place. That is, for example, sodium nitrate will be formed, and then arsenic hydride will be generating. So sodium nitrate plus arsenic hydride. Now this is the gaseous form. This is in the gaseous form. It can be burned, and then if we are purging the inert gas, volatile hydride, they are being either flame or quartz heated, and then this will be disintegrating. This will be converting into what? Into the arsenic. That is the atomic form, and it is when it is being thermally or in the flame, we are getting our signal. Our signal of what? Signal of arsenic. So this is the analysis of what? That is the analysis of arsenic. Similarly, this is a very good technique for the arsenic, selenium, tin, and antimony, bismuth, germanium, tin, tellurium, and that. Okay. Now, the other technique is that is cold vapor generation. That is vapors which are being generated. Now, this is temperature we have to perform chemical reaction. Okay. Now, here some vapors are being generated in the atomic form. For example, mercury is a volatile compound, element. Because the mercury can be evaporated even at room temperature. Because, for example, if a broken thermometer is there in your home, we are unable to collect the mercury. It has been distributed within the floor room. Okay. Now it is being evaporated into the atmosphere. So be careful. Here, the mercury, in order to we can reduce it into elemental form with the help of chemical reaction. That is tin chloride, stannous chloride. The volatile mercury carried out into the inert, and now when it is reacting, this tin chloride is reacting for mercury nitrate. This tin chloride, stannous chloride, it is converting into the stannic chloride. Vapors are formed, and mercury vapor is in the gaseous, in the volatile, in the vapor. So this is known as cold vapor generation technique. And these two techniques, that is hydrogenation as well as cold vapor generation, these are very, very effective. They are very, very effective. We can measure with the help of these elements in the ppb level. And this is, for example, cold vapor generation is again ppb and in sub ppb level. For example, 0.1, 0.01 ppb, we can measure it quite easily. Okay. Our next component is the monochromator. So the function of the monochromator to select a given absorbing line from the spectral lines which are emitted from the hollow cathode lamp. So if, for example, a hollow cathode lamp in which it is not a pure one, we are not using a pure cathode. It means that there will be impurities. When there are impurities, there will be a different number of wavelengths which are being emitted from the detector. Okay. So if monochromator will be placed after the flame, after the atomization, so that it can allow only to measure what? Only to measure the element of interest. So only those radiation are being selected to measure in which is of our interest, which are not interest, they are being not they are not being recorded by in this monochromator. Moreover, the monochromator is used to select the specific wavelength of light which is absorbed by the sample. Now, there are also, and this will be excluded. It will be not measuring the wavelength which are emitting from the flame. For example, we are saying that the copper, we are measuring copper. Now, copper, when it is being absorbed, when it is being in flame, there are so many reactions. It will be excited, it will be de-excited. So during the de-excitation, some other energy level, some other radiation are involved from the flame. So it will be different. So in order to avoid, in order to exclude these emitting from the flame, these wavelengths are not being recorded by with the help of monochromator. And this is the selection of the specific wavelength allow the determination of selected element. Now, for example, this selection is our beauty. This selection is the beauty. And beauty is that when we are using a class will be over at 4:30. Okay. Now, the selection of the specific light will be allowed to determine selected element. If, for example, we are selecting this wavelength at, for example, for copper, it will be only copper will be measured. If it is selected for the zinc, zinc will be only measured. So this is the specificity. Okay. There are more commonly two types of the monochromators are being. One is the prism and the other is the grating. We are not going into the detail of the prism and the grating. This will be, we will be discussing it, the construction of this monochromator in some other class. Now, after that, there is a detector. So electromagnetic waves, that is the electric current, that when these detectors, they convert this electromagnetic waves to the electric current. So that current is measured and it is being converted into what? Into a digital form. So this is the electronics. Now, for such detectors which are being used in the atomic resonance spectrophotometer, they are very, very often used. That is the photomultiplier tube. Photomultiplier tubes are often used and most commonly used as detectors. And this is due to the reason that they have very fast response. They are very fast response. Amplifies the electrical signal by several times. For example, a weak signal is there. In order to get, we can amplify it 2 times, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, so that we can have a reasonable signal to be quantified. And then there is the readout device. They could be chart paper, chart recorder, or a digital readout device. So these are being used, whether you can use recorder or you can have a digital device. Sohail Eric, जब क्लास अकिल देर से शुरू हुआ है तो देर से खत्म होगी. And this is the summary. This is the overall view. This is the overall view of what? That's the atomic absorption overview. That this is the sample. We are passing this in the form of mist into this flame, and where atomization is taking place. And this is atoms are being excited here. And when they are excited, they are being by virtue of this radiation source. Now, this radiation is absorbed by the ground state atom. It is converted to excited atom, and here the absorption taking place. Now, this is 100 unit. This is less than 100 unit. For example, 65 unit. Where this 35 unit gone? Now, this monoclonal matter will be detected and it will be quantified here. We say that this is 35 unit has been absorbed. So it means that this is the absorption is this one. Now, the second solution. 1 ppm, first solution, 2 ppm, second solution, 5 ppm, third solution, and 10 ppm, fourth solution. So we will pass the solution, standard solution through this, and then we can plot a calibration curve like this. And from there, we can measure it. If you say, we can have a small break here. Rashid, we have a flame atomizer. Then why we use graphite furnace? Yes, a very good question. In the flame is used when the sample solution is higher quantity. When the sample size is very small, in that particular case, we have to restrict our use, so that for those compounds which are in micro quantity, which have a micro quantity, for example, blood sample or any other body secretions, for example, limited. So we use microliter quantity. So we use graphite furnace in that particular cases. Otherwise, flame is sufficient. If the quantity of the sample is very high, no problem. We can use it any time, and more frequently. The flame atomizer is being used generally. Roughly, more than 80% of the atomic absorption spectrophotometer flame is used. But for some special purposes, graphite furnace is used when the sample size is lesser. But for example, the sample size is small, so we can't use it. Flame, we can't use it. For example, if we are going to analyze seawater. Seawater contains a large of concentration of what? Sodium chloride in it. It can clog. It can divide. It can interfere the atomization process. So atomization process will be not there. So for that purpose, whether the micro sampling is the choice, or the graphite furnace is the choice, where in the small quantity there will be small interference. So we can we should use graphite furnace micro quantity when the salt content are there, or the quantity of the sample is very low. Now, is it clear now? Thank you very much. So we will have a break of on 10 minutes only, maximum 10 minutes.